Hey everybody, welcome back to the 5th session of Baltimore Data Week. And we have over 100 people signed up for the session, so there's still people trying to get in. So probably give it a minute. And then Aaron, you are amazing for doing this. We really appreciate it and look forward to learning from you. Hopefully everybody can see the poll. We've got asking you your familiarity with Python, and just so you let you know, Aaron, I don't know if this is normal, but about 60% have never used it before, so that's where you are, which is awesome. Getting familiar with your great skills will be great. And so
I love that. Like I love when people are coming to learn about something new like this. This excites me a lot.
Awesome. Well, this is exciting for all of us, and we're gonna let you take it away. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Okay, so first I'm simply gonna you're gonna hear a little bit of background music, a little bit of nice chill lo-fi hip-hop music in the background. Now, why are we doing this? One, there have been studies that have been shown that music during during classroom presentations really helps to keep people focused, keeps their attention, and it also helps for the presenter as well. I do stream 4 nights a week at least, and it does help me to keep going, helps me to stay focused. And again, I think it's a little bit it sets the mood a little bit to you know, we're here to have fun, we're here to learn, we're here to really get into it. So let me know if the music is too loud or too low. I'm going to leave it right where it is right now. This is usually where I leave it during stream. But yes, I'm going to introduce myself through my slides in a little bit, but I'm happy to be here at Baltimore Data Week. Thank you everyone for the people involved with Baltimore Data Week for allowing me to participate in this pretty dope event. And today we're going to be here learning about Python. So it's really good that I see 58% of people who've taken the poll have never used Python before. That is excellent. I had a little trouble trying to figure out where to go with some of these things. You know, it's very hard to create a presentation that really appeals across the board to everyone. But this is great having this information right up front for me. Helps me to kind of pivot in the way that I think will be effective for everybody. But this is a session, but it's also very open dialogue. I'm also looking for some answers from you all. So as we go through this, ask questions as they come up. Feel free. No question is a stupid question at all. Please ask the question. We will try to get all the questions answered before the end of this. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take over screen sharing. And I'm simply going to share some slides. And I'll share this link to share these slides with you. I was not great at getting everyone these slides early, but I do have them now. So you will have them whenever we're done with this. But today we're going to be talking about, and I purchased a mixer, so I must use the features in the mixer because it was more expensive than I needed it to be. So today we're going to be talking about Polymath, Python, all of the things, and it's going to be very exciting. So let's get on the same page. First, let me introduce you to myself. So you know who you're talking to, or you know who's talking to you, you know who's through the screen. But my name is Aaron Brooks. You can call me Aaron if you'd like. Feel free. That's the Key and Peele sketch. If anyone's ever seen it, if you haven't, the link is in here if you want to take a look at it and understand why I say you can call me that. But I'm a DevOps engineer. I'm also a technical lead with around 9 years of experience. I put a little squiggly line there because it gets tough when you're talking about your experience in the tech industry and what applies to the things that you're learning now. But I say about 9 years of industry experience in terms of what I do today. Yeah. I love cars and motorsports. I think this is important to talk about, you know, what makes me tick. So you can, you know, hopefully through these, you can start to understand where the presentation is going, why it's going that way. And maybe, you know, you put this on a level playing field, but I love cars and motorsports. I don't really care about nice cars per se. I really like the performance aspect of cars. I currently drive a nitrous blue Focus RS. I tell people I put this in the slide all the time because I'm so into performance vehicles that I switch up my cars fairly often. And as I go through and rewatch presentations and stuff, it's interesting to see, you know, how the progression goes. If I'm a better driver, who knows? But yeah, I'm an overly competitive but extremely average gamer. I do love games. I hope you all love games as well. They're a very great way to blow off some steam, have a little fun, help you think as well. I put this in here only. I left this slide in here because, like I said, I do stream. I have a Twitch channel which I stream technical boot camps on, but 4 nights a week. I'll give you guys information on that. But I also have this game streaming channel. I don't actually stream on it. I've streamed on there like twice, but I keep saying I'm going to, because now when I find time to play games, it might be fun to share with other people. Stone Cold Stream Austin was the name that I took because I found it. I thought about it. I was like, that's a great name. I used to be really big into wrestling. And so that's the name I have, but I don't really stream there. But feel free to follow if you want to. You might get a message that I'm streaming one day. I'm a beer fan. I love stouts and porters. I love darker beers, but I do love beer. I'm trying not to drink as much beer. I really don't. I don't drink that often, but when I do, it's stouts and porters. So if you want to buy me a beer ever, buy me a stout or a porter. I would appreciate that. But we'll talk about why I'm trying to drink less beer as we get down a little bit. I wish that I was a fighter pilot. People always ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? What would you be if money wasn't an object? What would you be doing? I would love to be a fighter pilot. I cannot be a fighter pilot. Well, now because of my age and my vision, which they can fix, but mostly because of my size. I got told that really early when I was 14. They were like, hey, we would love for you to be a fighter pilot, but you're too big for a flight cockpit. I've got to go see fighter jets. I've got to sit in them, and I am in fact too wide for a fighter pilot cockpit. They are for tiny people. So that is something that I can't be, but I wish I was a fighter pilot. But I'm trying to stop drinking as much beer because in a year you will not be able to tell me apart from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because that's the goal right now. The goal right now is the road to The Rock is to I run a company called MASTERMND, but in order to master the mind, you must also master the body. And so I'm working on that as well, just trying to drop some pounds, get healthy. That's all, just a fun way to do it. And if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on @MastermindIO on pretty much every social media platform, even LinkedIn, is @MastermindIO. That's Mastermind without an I. This information will come back up again. But that's the intro to who I am. But let's talk about what you are in for. So I told you what I do. I told you that I'm in a DevOps. It's a fairly loaded term depending on where you go with these things. But I'm no data scientist. I'll tell you that right now. But I do use the same tools. And I think that's what's so important about today. But here is what we are here to provide today. An understanding of Python as a technical tool used to solve people problems. And this is one of the biggest things I want to drive home about anyone who's interested in learning Python, who's going to be using Python. This is Baltimore Data Week, but Python has many more applications. And I'm hoping that if I show you some of the other applications, I can really spark some ideas on how you can use it to also solve people problems, which generally comprise of data. What are the problems? I want you to know what other problems Python can be used to solve. Again, not just data science, not just machine learning, things like that. What other problems is Python being used to solve? I want you to know about those. I want you to know why we need to ensure as many people can use this tool as possible. And this is why I'm so excited that there are so many beginners on here, because this is very important to me. Literally, I started MasterMND because the only thing that I want to do is figure out how to properly scale access to technical training and technical engineering, because we'll learn a little bit more about that later on. But we need as many people to learn these tools as possible. And I'm glad you're here. I want you to know how you can get involved, or someone that you know can get involved. And then I also just want you to just hear some sweet, sweet lo-fi hip hop tunes. So that's why we're here, and we'll go over a lot today. I also didn't put it on here, but I really want to facilitate a conversation. Like I said, the first line there says, I'm not a data scientist, but I do use the same tools. And as we're building things, as MasterMND is moving forward with the community, I live and I work in Baltimore. A lot of what I do is to help the people of Baltimore, to change situations in Baltimore. But I'd love to start a conversation with you all about how I can leverage the skill sets that me and others are building with Python, how we can merge that with data and really use those tools to solve people problems. So that is what I want to get out of this today as well. So let's all level set here. What is Python? If you hit Wikipedia, you simply might see a long wall of text about it being a programming language and some stuff about white space, and they might talk about high level programming language and objects and things like that, but all that means nothing, I think, especially when you're first getting into it. So a simple answer, really, because I don't think all that stuff is important in the beginning, is that Python is simply a general purpose programming language designed to be easy to read and simple to implement. So these are two great things: easy to read and simple to implement. And so what I want you to first know is that all programming is, all coding is giving a computer a set of instructions to perform some type of automated task. That's all programming is. It is providing instructions to a computer. And the code that you write and that we are going to be learning to write is called source code. And this source code then ultimately gets, the computer can't really understand that. And it ultimately gets boiled down to ones and zeros. That's binary. That's what the computer understands. And so Python, it's written to be easy to read so that you can write the proper things, and then Python can handle converting it to the down to what the computer can read, but easy to read for you, for people to read and implement and to write. A little less simple of an answer, to add a little bit more onto that, a little more context onto that, is that Python is an interpreted, dynamically typed language that uses white space to define structure and scope. Now, if you're a complete beginner, none of these words might mean anything to you, and that's okay. But if you've ever heard any of these other words, I think these are important to understand, and these are things that we will see today as well. Python is interpreted. So what this means is that the code runs through something called an interpreter. It's a little bit of a, it's a little bit like Google Translate. And what it does is it interprets the code that you pass to it and translates it for the computer. And it does it almost in real time. It does it kind of line by line. And this is opposed to the other types of languages which are compiled. And that's where basically the translation for Python happens real time. But other languages like C or Java or Go, if you've heard of any of those languages, they do something called compilation. And they basically, before the code can run at all, it takes all the code, it does all the translation beforehand. And maybe we'll talk about why that's better or worse, what the pros and cons each of those are. But Python's interpreted. This just means that we can pass instructions straight to the interpreter to be interpreted. This means that we can write code a little faster. We can get output a little faster. We can make changes a little bit faster. It's dynamically typed. So if you know what types are in coding or programming, this is dynamically typed. So it's less strict on what you can do. It'll attempt to do some type of type coercion, but also not super important. If you know what these things mean, great. If you don't, not a big deal. But I do want you to know that it uses white space to define structure and scope. So tabs and spaces really, really matter. Other languages use things like curly braces and curly brackets. This does not. So we will, so it's pretty important. We're going to see some Python code soon. But today it's Polymath. Python. What is a polymath? So a polymath is an individual whose knowledge spans a significant number of subjects, known to draw on complex bodies of knowledge to solve specific problems. So the real key here is that there's a number of subjects. There's a number of complex bodies of knowledge that the individual's knowledge spans across. So it's being good at more than one thing. It's being really informed about more than one thing. And Python truly is the polymath of programming languages. And you are about to find out why. And we're going to take a look at some examples. But first, why Python? Why is Python so important? And why is it so popular? Python is, I believe it just passed Java in the past year as the most popular programming language, but it's like wildfire right now. It is a very important language in the space right now. But why? And so let's look at this chart really quick, and let's look at graphs. We are in Baltimore Data Week, and data is presented, visually a lot of the times to really help our minds be able to consume it, because we're not computers. But take a look at this graph here. And over here on this axis, we have fast and fun for humans. So this is the ease in which you can read and write this programming language. And on the bottom here, we have fast and efficient for computers. Now, these are two completely different things. Remember, computers understand ones and zeros. They do not understand the words in which we are used to using to make things happen. And so these are the two axes here. And up here we have things like Ruby, and Python's right here, Perl and JavaScript, JS is JavaScript. And as you look up this list here, you see that Python's really fast and fun for humans, specifically for humans, but it's really on the low end for efficiency and quickness for computers. And you might say this is really interesting. Python's crazy popular. If it's not amazing for computers, not super fast and efficient for computers, why in the world is it so popular? Doesn't make any sense. Things like C, C++, Java, and Go are way up here on the efficiency model. And yeah, that's for a number of reasons, but people like what they like. Popularity is based on what we like, what people like. And fast and fun for humans will likely make something popular. And let's dig a little deeper. So fastest for computers does not necessarily mean best. Everything in the technology field, everything that we talk about are just tools to solve a job. I really want to drive that home. Just tools. People always ask which language is best, which application is best. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. They are all simply tools to do the job. But the effectiveness of a tool does in fact come from its context. So let's say you have a hammer and you got this hammer. We all in our minds, when we say hammer, we know it's used to drive a nail. We know it's used to bang things down, but a hammer is also actually a really great tool for removing nails, for pulling up nails, but people don't really think about that. It's also, people use hammers for a lot of things. It's actually a pretty versatile tool. And so the context in which you use it matters and tells you how effective or efficient a tool is. But these are the reasons why Python as a tool is super popular and used so much. One is this simplicity. We've talked about simplicity a fair amount, but it is fairly easy to write. It's fairly easy to hop into compared to other languages. Now, because people always say this, I've seen this happen to where it can really drive a negative connotation to people's brains. People are always like, oh, Python's so easy to learn. It's so simple. That's a dangerous statement because, again, people are usually comparing it to other things that they've learned. And you might hop into it and you might say, this is not easy to me. This is very difficult. And you're like, everyone says it's simple, but it's not. Maybe this isn't for me. That's not true. Just in comparison to other languages, frameworks, things, the simplicity is definitely there. This is probably the largest one, but libraries. So libraries are a set of tools that are written to give you certain functionality. So instead of you having to write, let's say you're trying to achieve a certain task, for you to do that task, you may be able to just go grab, maybe someone's already done that before and they've packaged it up into a library. You can go and grab that library, pull it into your code, and it'll give you the ability to do the things that you really want to do without you having to spend lots of time implementing them. And this is where Python has really gained a lot of steam. It has a number of libraries that are really good, specifically in the machine learning and data science space. So there's just tons of libraries. The community, the reason there are so many libraries is simply because of the community. And the community is so large, I think, because of the simplicity. And so I think these things are all kind of symbiotic and work together to start to really, cause Python to gain steam. Fun. We looked at the last thing. Because you can get up and running with Python very quickly, I'm going to write a Python application for you super fast, just to show you how fast you can get up and running with Python. It's a fun language to write with. It's not my favorite language, but I do agree it is a very fun programming language to write with. Common, this is simply to say that, it's got executables for every system that you would want to use it on. It's available everywhere. And so it's a good choice because it's easily available everywhere. It's free and open source. And the last piece is the combination of power and ease of use. And that last line here is the thing that really overrides what we have right here. It's really the thing that overrides it. Power plus ease of use. All these things are powerful in their own right, but the power plus ease of use, I think really, if we made a chart for that, where power was on this axis and ease of use was on this axis, we'd see Python in a much more strategic place that made a little more sense for what we're talking about today. But Python, we'll take a break there. I do see a message here in the chat. Aaron, what is your favorite language? My favorite language is in fact Golang. This one right here, you know, that's in the sweet spot for this graph. But due to the nature of what I do and the things that I build, I really like Go. Go's also the language that I've known Python for a while, but it wasn't until I started to dive into Go that I felt like I really got good at software development, because there were a number of concepts and things that I had to learn for, you know, as you get to things that are more fast and efficient for computers, there are things that you have to learn. There are paradigms that you have to learn to make you be a person who can solve things using those languages. So Go is in fact my favorite language. I'd love to know what your favorite languages are as well. Shout them out there. I've used a lot of them. I'm probably the best at Python. Go's probably a pretty close second, even though it's my favorite. I'm probably a little bit better at Python just for the amount of time I've been using it. But yeah, libraries help share and recycle code. Python's excellent community. Absolutely. That's absolutely great input there about that. And the FJ Cruiser or FJ Land Cruiser. I love FJ Cruisers. I love all the Toyota Land Cruisers. That's pretty dope. I always love to hear what cars people have. I think it's really dope. All right. So the bodies of knowledge. We said that Python's Polymath Python. What are the bodies of knowledge that Python knows that it's good at? Python is we said in the definition that it's a general purpose programming language. And so it's good for a lot. It's surprisingly good for a lot of things. But Python and data science, AI, and machine learning, this is probably what I'm assuming what you've heard Python be used for kind of in this space, Baltimore Data Week. It's used very heavily in data science, AI, and machine learning. And the reason why is specifically because of those libraries. Libraries is the reason, not because it's super fast and efficient, but because of the libraries. And again, those libraries are able to grow because of the ease of use, the ease of implementation in Python. So as an open source product, the community is able to contribute to these, and we're going to look at what that means in a second as well. But Pandas is a high performance data analysis tool. It's really cool. We're not gonna, I don't think we're doing anything with Pandas today. So these are just a list of kind of the most popular ones that you'll hear a lot. These tools are useful across a number of different disciplines. I'm putting them here, but they're useful across a number of different computing disciplines. NumPy has amazing tools for scientific computing. Matplotlib is great for data visualization. We already stated that, when it comes to data, our minds work better when we can visualize that data, and Matplotlib allows you to do that pretty easily and pretty robustly. And TensorFlow is really a premier machine learning framework for everyone. There are many more. TensorFlow is a really big one. It's really great. It's not crazy easy to get into, but I mean, for what machine learning is, for the amount of power that you have at your fingertips for something like TensorFlow, it really is a machine learning framework for everyone. And it's pretty wild how these tools are kind of, available to us, in today's age. It's really amazing. And I think it's really going to allow us to change the world. These are all tools that will allow us to do that. So we already know that Python's great for data science, AI, and machine learning. Python in the web. I've actually talked to people. I was actually surprised to I come from a systems background. So I'm usually supporting websites, web applications. I'm usually supporting, companies and the systems that run their companies, and Python's super popular for the web. And so Python can be used to develop robust websites and web apps using the following web frameworks. And so these frameworks are also just libraries and tools that allow you to serve information over the web, to respond to web requests. And Django and Flask are two very popular ones. I forgot to remove, these are not what they are. So I'll remove those right now because I copied and pasted the slide to just reuse it. But that's not what they are. These are just both web frameworks that allow you to build some pretty robust web apps to make some decisions based on web requests that are coming in. So when you're thinking about web development, when you're thinking about web applications, this is it's a different paradigm for machine learning and AI and data science. But I think what's interesting about all these disciplines is I think they can all work in tandem to deliver the solutions that we want and that we need. And so I found a nice little example app that has a number of these things. Let me actually go through these different disciplines first, and then we'll hop into some code. I'm just trying to make sure I stay on time. Okay, we're good. So that's Python in the web, specifically for web development. Again, Django and Flask are great tools for that. Infrastructure as code. So if anyone's ever heard the term software is eating the world, there's another slide about this in a little bit. But infrastructure as code. A lot of people don't know. So I'm in the DevOps. I'm in the systems. But with the cloud, this is a lot of virtualized computing, no real tangible hardware assets. But you pay to rent a piece of someone's computer, a networked computer, which is the cloud. But infrastructure as code is a very interesting concept. It says, hey, I can write a code. I can write a piece of code, so I can manage and provision computing resources through a computer data center, through machine readable definition files, rather than physical hardware configuration or interactive configuration tools. What does this mean? It simply means that I can go to, I can simply write a piece of code over here, and I can deliver it to a web provider, a cloud provider, and they will then return to me real tangible web assets. This would be like you going to the Ford dealership and giving them a piece of paper, it's written a certain way that says, hey, I want a red Mustang, and I want it to have this size wheels, and I want it to have this kind of transmission, and I want it to have this engine option, and these color seats, this color interior, and you provide it to Ford and give them a few minutes, and they then provide you the exact car that you asked for. You pay for it while you're using it, and then you can also use that same file to rip it down and to get back that car whenever you want it. We can do the same thing here with web infrastructure. And this is really why the world is changing. This is really why people are talking about Python in terms of automation. There's a number of other reasons as well, but it's really cool. And I'll show you some examples of that. It easily, because of its ease of use, it allows for great infrastructure as code frameworks. The AWS CDK is one, Pulumi is another. There are a few other options for this, but again, it allows you to provision web assets. You're allowed to say, hey, I have a file here that I've written in Python, and I want 5 web servers, and I want 3 database servers, and I want them to be networked in this way, and send that off to Amazon or to Azure or to Google Cloud, and it will give you those things. And it's really nice. You don't have to pay for it, but they will give you those things, and it's really cool. What does this mean? This means that now your infrastructure is repeatable and reliable. You can always recreate it. You're not doing anything by hand. There's also documentation, basically, because you have the code right there that really shows what you built. And this is just a little example of what something like that might look like. And this is using the tool Pulumi. I don't love Pulumi, but it uses raw Python the best to do this. And it looks super confusing if this is your first time looking at it, but if you knew what provisioning infrastructure was like, this is actually pretty nice. You say, hey, I want a server of this size, and I'm going to use a certain base image to boot this off of, and I want a security group, and I want an EC2 instance, and I'm going to pass all that information to the cloud, and Amazon is going to give that to me that I can log into and then do whatever I want with, which is really cool. Infrastructure as code is pretty dope. So it's really nice. Then we have Python and IoT. So IoT is the Internet of Things. So with more connected devices than ever, your smartwatches, your Nest thermostats, your Google Home or Alexa devices, these are all Internet of Things. These are all devices connected to the internet. Internet of Things will be integral to our future. And there are a couple different libraries and tools for this. There's MRAA, which is a GPIO library, Sockets, which helps for facilitating networking. And then you can also link into IBM Watson, which is a platform, a machine learning platform to help you make decisions and do some cool things as well. There are just a number of options here for IoT. So we got IoT, we got infrastructure, cloud and infrastructure. We have automation in the infrastructure. So even if you want to do things as simple as, take backups of your computer, Python is an excellent language for management of systems as well. We learned, it's good at web development, amazing at web development as well as data science, as well as machine learning, as well as artificial intelligence. So that's so many disciplines that it's great for. And again, it's great for this because It is a kind of general purpose programming language that's easy to write. So the world is able to go out and to contribute and implement some of these things. So I want to show you what open source means a little bit. It means something different kind of across the board. It is not a concrete term. People get confused when I say that. It's not a concrete term, but things like TensorFlow. This is a great project for machine learning. That's a machine learning framework that you can go grab off of GitHub. And in here you can see that it has a number of stars. This is a lot of stars. If you're not familiar with GitHub, it's a lot of stars. But what's more, I think, pertinent here is that one, it has 90,965 commits. This means it has almost 100,000 contributions. People have committed code to this project almost 100,000 times, which is great. Open source just means the source code for the product is here. It's open and available for you to see and to possibly contribute to. And we can see here that there are over 2,600 people who have contributed to TensorFlow. This was not made by a company. Originally, I think it was made by Google, I believe. Not 100% sure, but it's been opened up to the community to keep up and to contribute to and to make great. And because of Python's ease of use, people have been able to go in and go and add in, their features. There are actually 206 open pull requests. That means there are 207 now already. Basically applications to say, hey, I've written a piece of code that I think makes this product better. Please take a look at it and determine if it is acceptable to be pulled into the project or not. So there are a number of people, number of organizations contributing to this, trying to constantly make these things better. And we can take a look at pandas or matplotlib, and you can just see that there are just so many contributors for these different packages. There's so many people using them. And again, that community is what is really, really important. And I'll close those down. All right. So let's actually look at some Python really quick. So first things first, I don't want to be in here. I'll make this a little bit larger. Let me know if you can see this clearly. Or if you can see it at all. The little share box went away, but it says I'm still sharing. So hopefully you can still see it. Python. It is an interpreted language. What that means is that in your system, when Python is installed, there is something called an interpreter. Did somebody say something? I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. There is an interpreter. And so this interpreter can be used like this. And I can just type in Python or Python 3, and it drops me into this interpreter. And now what the computer has done is said, hey, I'm going to interpret any Python code you give me. I'm going to translate it for the computer in real time. So I can do really cool things like this. I can say, go ahead and just print out, hello, everyone. And this is like everyone's first hello world application. And I'm basically giving it some Python instructions and saying, hey, go ahead and do this thing. So it goes ahead and prints this out. Print simply displays some output. It prints it out to standard output, but it displays output. So whatever I put in print, whatever words and phrases and text that I put in print, it will print those things out for me. And it does that right here. But I can also do really cool things like simple math or even hard math. I don't even know why I did X, but if I can do 6 plus 5 will give us 11. So if you want a quick calculator, you can use the Python interpreter to do this. And again, because Python is interpreted, it does this line by line, and it's cool for me to go ahead and do this, which is really nice. But we said Python is really, really easy to get up and running with and to write some code. So real quick, just to show you how fast I can write a quick little, super quick application, first app.py, and I can say, hey, I'm going to ask for your name. Hello, what is your name? And give you a way to put in your name. And then I could ask, what is your age? And I can say, hello, what is your age? Question mark. All right. And so just look at I want people to understand a little bit what's happening. I don't need you to be a pro. at all, or to like really grasp it right now. But I want to put some context around what's happening here. There's a cool tool that Python gives you called input, and that allows your program to take in some input. And when I get that input, it's going to assign it to a value. So when I ask for your name, whatever you type in is going to get assigned to this name value. And whatever I ask you about your age, whatever you put in is going to get assigned to this value of age. And then we're simply going to, after we do that, we're going to print hello. Well, let's do an F print. We're going to say hello, whatever your name is, comma, nice to meet you, comma, this is a really dumb application. It's cool that you are age years old. All right, so remember, I said programming is simply just giving the computer instructions to perform an automatic task. And so we got a little bit of code here, and we're gonna say, hey, ask the person this and save that value. Ask the person this and then save that value, and then go ahead and print some stuff out. And so what should happen, I don't know why I did that so poorly. What should happen here is it should fill in the value of name and the value of age in the sentence. So let's test out our first app that we've ever written. And I'm gonna say Python 3, first app.py. And I'm gonna say, what is your name? And I'm gonna simply type in, my name is Aaron. How old are you? I'm 30 years old. And it says, hello, Aaron. Nice to meet you. It's cool that you are 30 years old. And so not a crazy application, not a super useful application, but very quickly, because of the, there's not a lot of, there's other languages. If I were to do something like this, them first app.go, if I try to do this in Golang, immediately, as soon as I start up the application, before anything else is even here, look how much code already exists to support me writing this. And I have this set up to where it fills it in automatically for you. You would have to write this code to just get the scaffolding and the structure for this application to work. Python, it was very easy for me to I didn't have all this extra stuff that needed to happen. I simply hopped into a file and wrote a cool app. Now, that's really nice. But I found this Docker tutorial, which is really nice. Docker, not super important for you to even know what it is right now. Just gonna make it very easy for us to run Python applications. But in here, there's a simple app here, which is great. And one of the things that we talked about was web applications with Python. And so this is using Flask. And so the web basically takes in a number of verbs. It takes in a number of different options that you have. So whenever you go to google.com, it is making something called a GET request, G-E-T, and it says, hey, I want this information. I'm going to hit this endpoint. I'm making a GET request, and Google's application is determining what to do when that happens. And so Flask is setting up a route for us to accept requests over a web protocol and to deliver some information. So I'm going to run this simple little app. So this simple little Flask app is actually a web server. This is all 12 lines of code, really less. You probably remove a line from here. Are all you need to be able to run a web server. And so let's check this out. So I'm going to run this really quick. And you won't be able to do this. You won't be able to see it because, I'm running it locally on my computer. But if I hop right over into a web browser, I can simply type in the address for this. It is running over port 5000. And we get this hello world a response here. And this is a genuine web request. This is the same as if it was running as a web server on a server in the cloud. This is a genuine web request made to my computer, and this application responds accordingly. So just a little bit of code allows us to start to, see some cool things. And you might say, all right, that's very simple. But a web app that simply says hello world is kind of dumb. And we don't really care, that's not really cool. Like, I want something more dynamic. And that's where I really like the example that this person put together. And I'll send you all the repo for this as well. But there's another application that they have in here, and we'll take a look at it. I know I'm going pretty fast. We got to get through this really quickly, but I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the opportunity to kind of dig deeper into this stuff with the last couple minutes that we have. But this is also just a Flask app. Great. But actually takes some input on a route that is at /predict. So imagine you go to google.com/images or something like that. /predict says, hey, whenever we get a request here, but that is a post method. So that's a different method. So before we're talking about get request, when you are in the browser, that is a get request. It's saying, hey, when you get a post request, go ahead and take in that information and basically square that value. So it takes in a number and it's going to return the squared value. So now we have a dynamic web app. We have a web app that takes in some information and provides some output to the user. And again, this is still only 13 lines of code, which is really nice. And I'm going to run this really quick. And then we're going to pass some stuff to it. Not that one. There we go. So I'm going to hit this endpoint. The reason I'm going to do this via the command line is because if I do this via the browser, I have to do some weird stuff because I'm making a post request instead of a get request. This command line tool is going to allow me to make this web request the same as if I was making it in the browser. And if I do that, look at the output. The output is 25. So this is actually hitting this. It's actually hitting this this web endpoint, this Flask endpoint that we made, and I can change the number. And if I want to double 25, we get 625. So it's a dynamic web app that can take in data, process it for us, and return some data to us. So again, very quick and simple. I know if you're very new to this, I know you're like, oh, there's so many like stars in here and there's like brackets and like what is going on. And again, I definitely understand that, but it's actually quite simple. It's actually quite simple. So I'm not going to go into the other one due to time. There's a machine learning example here. I'll point you to it because it's actually pretty easy to get running yourself. You can have it make a few predictions. But yeah, we're not gonna dive into that right now just for the lack of time. And I want to allow people to answer a few questions. But Python looks cool, but it also looks hard. And so this is what I get a lot. So MASTERMND, what I do at MASTERMND is, again, I said I want to scale access. I want to scale people's ability to be able to receive technical training and information, as well as scaling experience as well. I know that might sound crazy, but we're gonna figure it out. But yes, it's hard, but you can do it. And I want to be clear that learning code is no more difficult than learning how to be a mechanic. It's actually very similar to learning how to be a mechanic. You're really just learning how things work and learning how to solve problems using the tools that are given to you. Python, again, programming languages, period, are just tools to solve problems. Technical solutions to people problems, that's what you get paid for. And there are more free resources than ever. Yes, there are more free resources than ever. As I said before, programming is simply using a computer as a tool to help us solve some problems. So my goal here is to, there's a lot of people, I listened to some of the talks before. There was a lot of doctors on here. I am absolutely not a doctor. I'm not a researcher. I am not any of those things. But I would love to have the help of those people who know the problems, who know the real problems, the real people problems. And I'd love to, I'm trying to recruit you all to work with me to help learn about these problems so that we can figure out how to solve some of these problems using data science, using machine learning, using AI, using automation, using the cloud, using Python to get these things done. And I'm actually very excited to do it. But, you can do it, but how? Can you do it? This is how you can do it. There are a number of free resources I have here. And again, we will share these out, and maybe I could just copy links and put it in the chat. There's a GitHub repo with a bunch of free resources. There are meetups. I attend a meetup here in the city called Baltimore Black Techies. There's Python for city government. There's a number of meetups for people to go to as well. I don't think you should do this on your own. I don't think you should learn how to code on your own. Everyone's not a polymath. That's not what I was looking for. That's not the word I was looking for. Not everyone's not a polymath. Everyone's not a, there's an autodidact. That's the word I was looking for. Everyone cannot teach themselves the things that we want to learn. We can provide the resources, but that doesn't mean it's easy to learn. That doesn't mean you can do it yourself. So I think meetups are a great place for that. There's places like Free Code Camp, LearnPython.org, edX, W3 Schools. I actually stream these boot camps through Twitch completely free. Twitch is very interactive. That's the reason we do it on there. Have entire curriculums on there as well. I can share some more of that with you if you're interested in doing one of those, if you're trying to learn. But more so than how you can do it is why you should do it. So technology literally can change the world. It has, and it will continue to change the world. But more importantly, that learning to wield it can change not only lives, but entire lineages. If you could truly understand the power of what we have at our fingertips, it's actually mind-boggling. And learning how to use this tool and combining it to solve our problems, I think it really is a solution. I think what's interesting about tech is that yes, you know, especially in Baltimore, the access to technology, the access to computers and internet is it's not great, but that's a solvable problem. That's solved with money. We can figure that out. Nowadays, computing has come so far. Computers are so powerful. You know, you can get a couple Chromebooks, you get a couple $100 Chromebooks, and all you need is a web browser, and you can literally write things that can change societies. With free McDonald's Wi-Fi. And so that's just it's a bar that we said we still have to solve a lot of these problems, but you know, the more and more people who can wield these tools, the better off we'll be. If anyone who doesn't know about HackBaltimore is a really dope citywide hackathon that's designed at doing some of these things. On Mastermind, we will actually be using Python to solve some of the things on HackBaltimore.io. Not PHackBaltimore, just HackBaltimore.io. There's a portal on here. I think it's /portals is still up. It might not be up anymore. But people can go in and put in they can submit issues that they're having. I'll find it. Maybe it's portal.hackbaltimore.io. But where you can see those issues, we're going to be working through those live. Yes, about real people problems that we can solve using technology. And this is, again, where I need your help. I'd love for you all to participate in how we can do a lot of this. Yeah, they're going to be fun. It's a great way for you to learn Python. It's a great way for us to implement solutions for free for the city that really can affect lives, that can make change on a grand scale. So yeah, so check out how Baltimore. It's again, it's a pretty dope thing. And I think that is it. I want to give people a few minutes to answer some questions, and maybe we can dive into just a little bit more with a little bit of time that we have left, but I wanted to leave some time. So I rushed through some of this stuff, but I'll also get back to the questions. I don't know if anyone was queuing them up, but I can go through the group chat if so. We sent to infrastructure provider using cloud services. Yes, and so going back to a little bit about what we were talking about with the infrastructure as code piece, what's really nice about learning how to do the software development, to do some of this engineering is that yes, you can simply define some cool things and pass it along to someone else to worry about. You don't have to worry about setting, these things up locally. Docker's a really great thing because a lot of these tools that we talked about today, a lot of these libraries and frameworks are notoriously difficult to get running locally because they have a number of dependencies, as you can imagine. Big tools like this that can allow anyone to do, training models and do a lot of machine learning. They require a lot of things to make those things run, and they're kind of hard to get going. Docker's a great tool for that, but yeah, it's just another tool that I would only use if you know you need it, to be 100% honest. What's the name of the Coding Bootcamp Twitch channel? It is https://twitch.tv/mastermind.io. Yeah, and so we're on. I'm on Monday through Thursday. A number of things. Right now, we're learning both Linux. On Monday and Wednesday, we're learning Linux. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're actually learning Docker right now. More information about what we do will come along. But again, the goal is to the kids are already here. Teenagers are already here. A lot of people spend a lot of their time on Twitch. The amount of flexibility, the amount of interaction is really nice. is really amazing. And so the amount of people that you can interact with and teach at once is really amazing with tools like Google Classroom, with tools like Notion, with tools like GitHub Classroom. You can really create some pretty interesting classroom experiences across lots and lots of people. You know, sometimes we have 150 to 200 people at a time. You know, we can still queue up questions and get questions answered properly. Yeah, it's an actually very interesting way. So actually looking for some ways to, like, it actually all started because of, again, I was working with a Baltimore Black Techies meetup, and we wanted to, hey, you know, people were asking questions. Let's hop on a call and get this done and learn these things. But now, trying to develop a bit of an after school program that's free to everyone, especially particularly in the city, to where people can kind of learn these things in a way that's, you know, that's relatable, in a way that makes it fun, where people actually can understand, like, that's applicable. And again, a number of ways we can do that is, one, to actually solve city problems, like build things that can solve city problems while teaching it. And so yeah, so feel free to check us out. Like I said, Monday through Wednesday, we cover a lot of topics, and it's pretty exciting. But that's it. I think that's everything that that I had for today. Hopefully that gets you a little bit more excited about Python for everyone who's never used it before. I hopped from some very basic things to some stuff that's a little tougher, but I please don't let that intimidate you. I think you would be surprised at how quickly you can get up and running and get going with Python. I also, I completely forgot, but I will share this with you really fast. We've run a complete introduction to coding using Python bootcamp already. It was 12 weeks at the beginning of the year. And here's a playlist on YouTube if you're interested in it and you want to hop in and take it literally from zero to hero. Well, it's mostly fundamentals, but it gets kind of deep in there. But it kind of gets you a really good baseline in Python. Again, completely free. I don't think this kind of education should cost anyone a dime. And we want to get it to as many people as we can get it to. But that's it. That is it for me. Maybe with this little bit of time left, unless anyone has anything, maybe we can hop into one of the machine learning ones that I didn't think we were going to have time for. But there's this simple machine learning app, and in here there is an application which isn't much longer, and it's using a tool called Pickle to do this. Pickle is I think it's like a data serializer tool. Like I said, I'm not a data scientist. I don't do a lot of data science stuff, but I think it's really cool because at this route called predict, we can actually pass a few different parameters. And what it'll do is it will return a prediction score based on what we've done here. And it'll do it based upon a training, basically it's a data set that gets trained. And so there's actually this data set right here. And so there's this data set that came with this, and it generates a spending score. So you can pass in some information about annual age, annual income, and things, and it you can train the model using this, which is really nice. There is a training file right here that reads in that data set, and it does some things to be able to train our model that we can use, which is super nice. And all of this has already been done with the Docker build that I had. It's already been done, and I can simply let's Docker stop this, and let's run this one. Taking much longer than it should take. There we go. So Docker compose up -d. And again, using Docker makes it really nice. And I think there was another example that I had done. And so I can pass in actually some kind of information about data that's in that training model. And I can pass it through its options, and it'll actually based on this information, it will go through and it will give me a spending score for that data model. and I'm just going to change some numbers and see if we can get something different. I don't know if it takes numbers this high, but the data set only has 200 items in it, so it may change. But you can see how what I pass in does actually change. And again, this stuff is actually based upon trained data. The more data you get, the better your predictions will become. And it's pretty cool. But again, even that, like to do some machine learning, look how little code you have to do. And it's actually, once you learn a little bit, it's actually pretty simple code to get to this point. And on top of that, it's actually being served through the web. So like this is a complete web app that other people could go hit if I were to put this somewhere that was accessible by other people. But that's it. That's all I got. Please reach out to me on social media if you have any questions about getting into Python, about the tech industry as a whole. That's part of what we do at Mastermind as well, is help people really understand the tech industry, how to navigate it as well. And I'd also just love to meet all of you. So thank you.
Aaron, that was amazing. I was wondering, you said that you actually do work with school children. Is that what you said? In general, or just on the side?
So kind of on the side, but what we're trying to do is develop, again, like an after school, like we're trying to develop a series, which is basically on when kids are done with school for the day, especially now when everyone's at home. Parents are looking for, ways to enrich their kids and things. They're already on Twitch. Like they're already watching people game on Twitch. And the way, the amount of interactivity, we think has made this pretty exciting, but trying to create a platform to where people know, hey, when I get out of school, I can send my kid here, or I can do this, and they can sit down and they can learn something that they can apply to their lives.
And I always have maybe a dumb question. So Charles Carpati is our web developer who's been kind of moderating the conversation. Nice job. How hard is it to go between languages? Like, can you go between Python and Go, and can you go between Go and JS? Or is it once you pick a language, you got to just go with it?
Phenomenal question. It's a really good question. So programming follows, all the languages for the most part follow a set of paradigm, follow a set of rules. And once you learn those rules and those tools and those concepts in one language, they're generally applicable across languages. So it's actually pretty easy for me to hop into a new language. Like if someone was to throw a language at me right now, I don't know Rust at all, I don't know Kotlin. I think that I would be able to do a lot of the basic things, no problem. I have to look up, what the syntax is and what the keywords are to do certain things, but the actual logic of what you're doing is pretty standard across the board. And what I would advise people to do is to really focus on learning those concepts in a single language first. Because it's, it can get really tough to do multiple ones at once. That is the problem I have on the stream now, is we'll hop in between Go, we'll hop in between JavaScript, and I'll start typing in Go code while I'm doing JavaScript or something like that. And so it's a problem syntactically, but not in actual problem solving. It's actually pretty easy to hop around, I think.
What if you need to kind of, I think this happens a lot, where one person, coding is like an art form too, right?
Yeah.
So somebody might have started to code something, and I guess this is an issue for HackBaltimore, and somebody else comes in to try and pick up where they left off, and may want to actually convert it to a different language potentially. Like, at what point do you say, I'm just going to stick to Python because it started this way and I'm going to go with it? Or do you actually change it, to a different paradigm?
I think you have to take into account, one, the resources you have available to build this project and what they know. Sure, there are always better tools for the jobs, but if no one knows how to use that tool, and we can't get people who know how to use that tool, no reason for us to switch over to that new tool. A lot of these tools, again, you can use a hammer, like I said, to do a lot of things that a hammer wasn't designed to do. And so that's what happens a lot of the times. I think if you know where you're going and the expertise is there, and you think there's some sufficient trade-off to performance long-term versus time, I think you should make that switch. I'm always looking at ways to I'm a fan of switching languages for small to medium-sized projects. Larger projects, you kind of just got to let it go for a while and keep with that terrible thing. But I do think it should be it's something that should be looked at pretty often. Like I said, tech moves fast and tools change pretty quickly, and I think it should always be a decision of long-term gain. You know, what can I get? What am I going to get by doing this now? Like, how's it going to help me 3 years from now, rather than, you know, what's it going to do this year? Because again, it's going to be a new thing. And so you got to be thinking down the line a little bit.
Aaron, you're terrific. Thank you so much. For those that see the chat, please do fill out the evaluation form. And hopefully we'll see you all at our 3 o'clock session, which is around housing and you know, racial divide in housing, and other sessions for Baltimore Data Week. Thanks so much again, Aaron. You did an awesome job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.